Simon Peter, Thomas called Didymus, Nathanael of Cana of Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and two other of his disciples were out on the sea. At first they were on the shore in the darkness of the night, but they had set a campfire. They were warming themselves around the fire. Jesus had not been in the presence after those two occasions that he appeared unto them for a mighty long time. And they were wondering in their mind what they were to do. They were wondering in their mind what was expected of them in ministry. They were distressed and burdened down. They were confused in their mind, sitting around the campfire, being accompanied to one another. Don't you know sometimes we accompany one another in the midst of our stress, misery, love's coming. These disciples found themselves in a miserable circumstance. They didn't know what to do, so they gathered around the campfire on the Sea of Tiberias. But then all of a sudden, Simon Peter jumped up and said, I'm going fishing. I'm going back to the trade that I was doing when Jesus showed up and called me to be his disciple. I'm going back fishing. I can't handle what's going on right now. I don't know what is expected of me, but I know all about the fishing trade. And so I'm going back to my comfort zone of doing the things that I'm accustomed to do. But I want to warn you of something. Don't be comfortable in your own comfort zone, because God is pulling you higher. He wants to pull you from your comfort zone in life in order to place you in a different place. He wants to bless you, and in order to bless you, he got to pull you out. But instead of following the direction of the master had called them to be disciples. They went back to their former trade as fishermen. And when Simon got up and said, I'm going fishing, the others stood along with them and said, well, we also go with thee. We're going fishing. But the record reads that immediately they got on board of their ships and they went fishing that very night. But that night they caught nothing. They didn't catch anything, in spite of the fact they knew all about the trade. Peter had been fishing for a long time, along with Andrew and the sons of Zebedee. They knew the fishing trade as well. There were at least two boats out on that shore fishing for fish, but all night long they were not successful. They had told without success. What I want to point out to you, whatever God has called you to do, you want to do it. Whatever God has placed in your life as your purpose for being, you want to strive to find out what that purpose is and make sure you are living according to that purpose. Because I'm here to tell you, if you do anything outside of what God has called you to do, you're going to find yourself messing around. You're going to toil with y'all not hearing me. Rome with me for a little while. They labored all night long, but didn't catch a thing. All because of the fact they were not being obedient to what God had called them to do. Remember, when Jesus showed up on the scene, he went unto Peter and said, Peter, follow me. But he just didn't merely say, follow me. He said, well, Peter, you've been fishing for fish. I want you to follow me, and I'll make you fishers of men. But instead of doing what the master had told them to do for 3 long years, they went back fishing for fish. They thought that they were the young, the watchful eye of the Savior. But when they least expected, Jesus was on the shore, and they knew not it was Jesus. I'm here to tell you, Jesus is always around. Jesus sees. Jesus knows whether or not you are holding up to the calling of your life. And I want to ask you to fulfill your calling. And if you fulfill your calling, God will bless you in all of your endeavors. But the record reason they fished all night, but they didn't catch a thing. But when the morning had come, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples knew not it was Jesus. But even though they didn't know that it was Jesus, Jesus cried out, children! It looks like they would have recognized that it was Jesus when they called him children. But he said, children! Even though they did not recognize that it was Jesus, they thought that he was a mere stranger standing out on the shore, yelling out to them. So they yelled back, no! No! Jesus was asking a question with intentionality. Jesus already knew what the answer was, but Jesus was setting them up to bless them and to teach them. So Jesus was really asking you, do you have any need? Do you have any provisions? Do you have some fish? You caught fish. You've been doing things your own way. You've gone back to your comfort zone. Jesus wanted to know, even although he knew, have you had success doing it your way? They had to answer, no, we have no success, even though this is all that we know. We know the ins and outs of the fishing trade. We know when the best time to fish. We know where to fish. But in spite of the knowledge, they caught nothing. And Jesus showed that not only is he the captain of our salvation, but he's also the master of the sea. Because as they cast, you're the man on the right side.